have never been done before.
We the people tell the government what to do. It doesn't tell us. We the people are the driver. The government is the car. And we decide where it should go and by what route to do. We the people are free. And I hope we have once again reminded people that man is not free unless government is limited.
Well, g'day, folks. How are you? I hope you're having a good sort of a Tuesday. Once again, sorry about last night. Mondays can be a little hit and miss with me. Sometimes I have some phone calls that I've got to be a part of, and sometimes they run longer, sometimes they run shorter. And last night's didn't actually start until well after it should have, and it didn't end until long after the show would have gone to air. So my apologies for that. But you never know. Some good things might come from those conversations. Fingers are crossed. Did you take notice of what we put up on the start of the show here tonight? I want to move myself over there. I want to talk about what we can accomplish together tonight. But first of all, our togetherness starts with our family here at the Voice of Freedom. Tonight, it pains me to report to many of you who have been following along and playing along at home for a while now. We've had a wonderful follower name of Margie Sedman on the Sunshine Coast. Margie has been in hospital for a prolonged period of time last year. She has been out for quite some time this year, a few months at least. But unfortunately, tonight she's been readmitted back into a hospital on the Sunshine Coast, private hospital on the Sunshine Coast. She's been feeling it in the last couple of weeks. It was her caravan we were endeavouring to try and sell, and I'm not quite sure. The big caravan show was on in Nambour over the weekend. We'd sort of arranged a few other different things with some dealers, so hopefully that caravan will get sold for her very quickly. But if you can, put Margie in your prayers. She needs all the help she can get at the moment. She's back in hospital, and I'm sure she'll be undergoing more scans. It's a painful time for her and her family, so please keep her in your thoughts if you can. Gomez first in the house tonight. Thanks for you, mate, getting in. We will talk about these public serpents. Exactly right. And once again, together we can accomplish anything if we are prepared to accept responsibility together. We will get to that theme in the not too distant future, folks. Hello, Connie. G'day, Paul in WA. Went fishing, got wet, didn't get any fish. Bugger. That sort of takes the fun out of it a lot. No. Well, what can I say here? No show last night. I thought ASIO bagged Carl. I couldn't tell you if they did. I wouldn't be allowed to. But I've already told you what I did last night, so there you go. Tony's in the house, as is the lovely Gail. Hello, Anne Penny. Got your email. Sorry I didn't reply, but yes, I'm okay. Everything's going well. The lovely Connie, I hope you and the Pipe Master are doing the things that Pipe Masters and a woman with your skills do. Good luck with that. Hello, Thomas. Hello, Aussie Sue. God love your woman. I hope things are going well. And yes, folks, now is the time to give us that thumbs up. And if you aren't already subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. YouTube are doing everything they can to make sure that we do not get seen as widely as many other YouTube channels. I mean, I don't get the promotion Cletus McFarlane gets. Can I just point that out? He doesn't get the suppression that we get here either, though. So I guess I could start drifting maybe and see whether or not I could build content like that. I don't see Vince being terribly involved in that. It could be a dangerous thing for us all. However, that thumbs up really does make a big difference, folks. So please give us that thumbs up, like, subscribe, put up the notification bell, because in most cases, I think people are getting notifications these days, although I do still see the odd one pop up in here in the chat that says no notification again. That might have something to do with if I post the show late. I think if I post the show within half an hour of it going to air, I don't think you'll get a notification in that sort of situation. Hello, Angie. I hope you are doing well, my dear friend. Rob, thank you, mate, for all that you are doing for the for the movement in general and yourself. You're a bloody legend. And Pete from Pinaroo, who tells me that his garlic is looking reasonably good this year, folks. And when I say reasonably good, he's a smiling man. He's also been able to get rid of a couple of cows. So they'll be heading off to market very shortly. And they won't be returning in the form of packaged lunch meat to the property. I think he's on-sold them to the market. So good on you, Pete, and always useful to be able to grow things on your property that you can sell, even though apparently selling, a small number of cows is a difficult thing to do these days for farmers. If they only want to sell maybe 6 or 10 or 12 cows, that's really difficult for a stock and station agent to apparently work with. Apparently, these blokes like to work with much bigger numbers, and you can't really add your mob in with another mob. It's a herd, not a mob of sheep, a herd of cattle, isn't it? So you can't put your little herd in with another little herd and sell them all together and split the proceeds. Doesn't work like that. So interesting times that they would be finding it difficult to sell those. Well, I guess it could be laziness creeping in too, and there's a bit of that all around, let's face it. G'day, Andrew. Trust you are doing well, and the hounds are, growing. Now, Andrew did quote to me how much meat they're eating at the moment. It's equivalent, I think, to about half a sheep a day. Maybe not. I might be exaggerating just a little bit, but congratulations to everybody who picked up one of those little hounds, and Andrew made a little donation to us, so we really appreciate that, Andrew. And of course, keep us appraised of particularly the dog you kept, how he's going. Sunflower, love you, darling. I hope you and Rick and the fam are doing well. The Sunshine Coast has been pretty nice the last few days, I've been hearing. I've got some friends who are staying up there at the moment. Oh, speaking of friends, Jan, I owe you a huge apology. You're probably home now or very close to it, and you've taken my relish with you. My fault. I'm truly sorry. Turned out to be a really difficult week to be traveling to the Sunshine Coast, or week and a half as it turned out. But that's all right. I know where you live, and I know I travel a road very close to you on a fairly regular basis when I'm traveling through New South Wales. So rest assured, you will be getting a phone call, and whether there's relish there or not, I will pop in. We will have a cuppa and a bit of a catch-up, because I do apologise for missing you while you're up here. I do hope that you took a couple of the ideas I gave you for things to go and see and do while you're up on the sunny coast. There's some great things in the hinterland, particularly, that you can go and check out that doesn't cost you any money until you decide you want to take it home with you. That's another matter. Anyway, moving on. What the hello? How is old Three Toe tonight? I hope you're doing well, brother. We had a bit of a chat. Was it yesterday? Did we talk yesterday or over the weekend? I'm getting confused with dates, times, and places. But mostly smiles on his face, still a bit of sting in the toe after the debriding that went on last week. But he's got himself sorted in temporary new accommodations, shall we just say. And while the foot settles down just a little bit, and then he'll be heading off to new pastures, so to speak. And I'm looking forward to when that happens, because there'll be another mutual family member involved in that. And I'm led to believe that that mutual family member might have a couple of surprises hidden in his shed out the back. That is a man cave that most men would be grinning a great deal should they be able to get a hold of it and help him have a play in there. We might be allowed to go and have a play in there in the future. What the and I. And hopefully somebody with some knowledge about some of the tools that are in there. Otherwise, it's going to be a hell of a mess. But anyway, we'll look forward to that. Jenny, I hope you are doing well, darling, and life, the universe, and everything has kept you in tow over the weekend in not too many painful ways. Silver Fox, I trust the knee is working in ways that it was advertised to work after you decided you'd spend so much money repairing it. I do hope that climbing up into the tractor isn't forming a problem, because that would be an issue for you. You're a man who's very active on the farm. And climbing up and down tractors all day would certainly impact the knee. Or are you lucky enough to get one of those stepping machines that Clarkson got for one of his tractors, which I thought was just brilliant. Set of escalators for the tractor to mount the tractor. Bloody brilliant idea. Carslake, Sean, nice to have you in. New name. Always interested about these new names, especially when they pop through on the channel you've just popped up on. We've had a couple of trolls recently who've decided to float their way in, which ordinarily I don't give a shit about as long as they can contribute something. But when they're just abusive and morons, then I have zero tolerance. So to the mods, I have zero tolerance for those sorts of fools anymore. There was a time where I would tolerate and happily engage with them if they were intelligent enough to hold a conversation or actually put forward a reasoned argument for their side. But sadly, it has been my experience in the last, sadly, 5 or 6 years that I've been doing this, that there isn't a single brain cell located in any of their heads capable of expressing a reasoned argument for their perspective, their side of the argument. And if there is one brain cell, it doesn't have a friend able to reason the information that they get back from our side and understand it with any clarity or anything. They're just welded in their ways. And of course, when welded in their way doesn't win them the argument, they inevitably lower themselves to personal insults, at which point you know you've won, because any moron can come up with a personal insult, and most of these would go crying if I decided to start on them with personal insults. I mean, but there is no reason for personal insults to come into any of this. And this is in part what I want to talk about tonight, because I firmly believe what that thing on the screen in front of you says. We can accomplish anything when we accept responsibility together. And when we accept that responsibility together, it creates trust between us. Now, if our side can argue a responsible argument for our position, I would put forward that the trolls and anybody who has a differing idea to the things that we push forward should be able to accept responsibility for that argument and be able to put it forward in a reasoned, unemotional manner, saying, well, here's the facts as we interpret them. They should then be able to listen to their facts, as we are very happy to have our facts listened to and then taken apart and examined in, call it forensic detail, if that's what works for you. But we are happy to have those facts that we put forward, put up in forensic detail. That examination will prove whether they are factual or whether they aren't. And I would ask you, the trolls, who don't seem to be able to come out with anything much more than a grunt and a bit of snot hanging out of a nostril, to see if you can lift your level of understanding, lift your level of comprehension, and lift your debating abilities so that you can look at your arguments and say, all right, well, I accept responsibly those arguments, and I'm going to responsibly accept that the other side is going to attack these arguments. I need to be able to rebut them in a way that just isn't, you're a fat shit and nobody likes you. Because trust me, that's never going to win you a debate. It's just not going to. And it has no impact on me or anybody else, I would hope, that you would inflict, the lowest form of intelligence upon, because that's really what you're doing when you're resorting to personal insult. You've let us know that we've exhausted your intellectual bit of string. She don't go no tighter, won't pull any further. And so when it goes that far, you result, rather than learning and adding to that string, you return to your base stage, which is personal insult. And it gets us nowhere. Now, to this point, I've focused on the trolls. But they are minor. All right? They are minor, because everything I've just said and everything I'm about to say is not aimed really at the trolls. It's aimed at our constitutional knowledge holders. I have been saying pretty much since the day I started this show and started to understand Magna Carta, started to understand the basics of common law, and started to take an interest in the Australian Constitution, something I had never done in 58 years, ever. Never even opened the book until I was fortunate enough to meet Tim Dwyer, who got me so excited, he eventually sold me one. And I have it within eyesight of where I am. Have I picked it up? Do I go through it? Do I notate it? Do I do? No, I don't. But I have it, and I know I can refer to it, and I can show people things in it when I need to. So it's useful for that. But I have been saying, along with many others, but I don't know if I was the first, but I am one of many voices that have been saying that we have so many constitutional scholars in this country, people that believe that the Constitution, the Australian Constitution, as it currently stands, 1900 UK version, brought into life January of 1901, is a true and legal constitution. It is what we all work under, yada, yada, yada. Then there are those who say, no, the Constitution was bastardized. They changed the color of it. And by changing, not just by changing the color of it, there's a green and a red Constitution if you're not up to it. The red one's the one you want. The green one is the fallacy. These arguments have gone on ad nauseum between these most learned people, much more learned than me. These men and women will know more about the Constitution in one little finger than I think I could ever hope to learn. And it is through those people that I thought we must get them all together. Because, as I keep saying, this is a giant jigsaw puzzle. And when it comes to the Constitution, we have many constitutional experts, pardon me, all of whom have been personally invested in their particular examination of the Constitution over however many years. Now, some of those people, Wayne Glue, Mr. Dick, Tim Dwyer, Stephen Spears, have been doing this for 30 or 40 years or longer. They are very heavily invested in the knowledge that they have acquired and have been sharing through their groups for many, many, many years. And you don't blame them for that one iota. Not one iota. As I say, these people should be heroes to all of us because of the work that they have done. However, it has been proven that they, by themselves, cannot accomplish anything. They, as themselves, have shown us that they are not willing to accept responsibility for everything that they have so lovingly put together. Because if they were, they would be willing to have it put up and examined by others with a similar amount of constitutional knowledge and investment in the constitutional concepts we are working with going forward. But unfortunately, ego gets in the way. And if you have a slightly different understanding, or you have found something in the constitutional documents that you have forensically examined that others have missed, maybe, potentially, over the previous 30 years, I would argue that it is not your job to stand up and say, ha ha, you missed this. You've put yourself up as a bloody hero in the Constitution, and now you've missed this. How the hell, how could you miss this? It's basic, it's easy, I found it. That's just rubbing your own ego, all right? That's just, it's not helpful. It's not helping anybody. Because first of all, the person that you would accuse of not doing enough homework and missing something that was blatantly obvious may not have missed anything, and you might be missing something. Conversely, I have been responsible for this on a number of occasions. It's not constitutionally on that sort of scale, but We've all done it, where we'll read things, we'll read a word and it'll come out of your mouth differently, and you will reread the word a couple of different times, and it'll always come out of your mouth the wrong way for some reason. It's because you're having a bit of a glitch or whatever. That happens. Now, when it comes to having a glitch in these constitutional arguments, many of the people I've mentioned and others are so invested in their solution that all they can do is turn into a troll and knock down anybody who would offer a suggestion, asks a question, or can present a reasonable hypothesis for a significant point that might have been missed previously. And it might have been missed because it's been deliberately hidden from us. It might have been missed because many people involved didn't bother going to Victorian or state libraries, not just Victorian, every state library, and looking at microfiche documents dating back to the 1890s and surrounding all the conversations, elections, and whatnot that went into our Constitution being ratified, being brought forward and being made ours. I've been arguing that while everybody has been working extremely hard and we appreciate all the work they're doing, it is a huge jigsaw puzzle, and I have believed right from the word go that while everybody has very valuable pieces to the puzzle, and while most of these groups have almost totally complete puzzles, there isn't one of them that is actually complete. There isn't one of them that has the missing piece that brings it all together. And when a potential missing piece is brought forward, is shown with evidence that it has some validity, and the validity behind it might actually prove that our Constitution has never been ratified. The Constitution that the Australian people voted on was changed before the English or the UK Parliament ratified it. And that change could be really, really significant. In fact, I believe it is. But how will we go talking with Dick or with Stephen or with Tim or others about it? Now, I've had conversations with Tim about this. I valued Tim Dwyer's friendship above all else, but his knowledge is, to me, he is one of the most knowledgeable men I have ever had the great fortune of bumping into and being able to develop a friend relationship with. I would say the same thing about Peter Horton from the Corruption Whistleblower, who is also an extremely intelligent man when it comes to all things biodiesel and engineering and all that sort of stuff. That he's also a man who's been treated very badly by successive governments and had a very, very significant fortune stolen from him, and they threw him in jail for a couple of years to boot. This is a freedom fighter of great strength, but what's more, he's put that strength not into his arms and hands, but into his brain. And he has a voluminous knowledge that is open to be questioned at all times. And I guess, like anybody who comes under being questioned intensely, because none of these people who have their own idea in their mind are going to ask polite questions. They're going to be intensively asking the questions because you're tearing down my hypothesis or my life's work. That's not what Peter or anybody else who would put up a solution is doing. He is simply pointing out something that may have been missed by many. He may have found that missing jigsaw piece. But because our constitutional experts are so caught up in their own work, and I understand the reasoning why you would be caught up in it. What I don't understand is that it has not brought us a solution thus far. What on earth are you bringing to the party that says your solution is going to bring us the solution in the near future? How can we action it now Or why aren't you prepared to listen to what Peter Horton may have found from the corruption whistleblower? I have a document that is a forensically put together document. It shows in exquisite detail many of the questions that Peter would raise about our Constitution. And I think they are valid questions. Do I know if it's right? No, I don't. But I do have an open enough mind to say to Dick Yardley or to Stephen Spears or to Wayne Glue or to Tim Dwyer or to any other constitutional, respected constitutional element in our family to come forward and tell me why it's so wrong, why Peter, deserves to be trolled into non-existence because he dares to put forward a hypothesis that everybody else has not seen so far. The fact of the matter is, Peter and Donna would not be able to find this single fine point, right? And it's a very significant point. They would not have been able to find that without the work of Dick Yardley, without the work and inspirational chats with Tim Dwyer, without consultation with God knows how many other constitutional friends that there are around the nation. All right? It's just, there's no point in holding on to your jigsaw puzzle if it doesn't have all the pieces. It's useless. I'm sorry, you might have put 30 years into it, but if it doesn't have all the pieces and you think it has to be accepted as it is, you're not prepared to work on it, you're not prepared to show its inner workings, you're not prepared to show the gaps in it where others who would be doing the same thing might have a jigsaw piece that fits it. And together we can build a responsible solution that creates trust, not just within the group building it, but throughout the whole nation. Because if Peter is absolutely right, we're going to need a new constitution. And as far as I know, there are at least 6 people who've written new constitutions. All of them will need to be discussed. All of them will need to be reworked, considered. And we're only going to be able to do that. We're only going to be able to accomplish something out of that if we are prepared to act responsibly while reviewing all of this information. Because when we act responsibly together, we will build trust with each other. And God knows, we need trust in this game because it's been taken, well, it hasn't been taken so much. We have been abused by some who have taken that trust that's been given them and abused it, I should say. So I would argue for those constitutionalists in our family, and I am not having a go at you. I'm not trolling you. I'm not accusing you of being trolls. I would simply ask you to understand and accept that if you are doing this work and you're putting it forward, you are doing so in the knowledge that it will be questioned. And it will be questioned by everybody who takes an interest in it, whether that be a half brain like me or somebody who's gone to school for years to understand constitutions and all that sort of stuff. It needs to be able to withstand the scrutiny of a highly credentialed and awakened professor all the way down to a grade 5 or 6 student, or maybe earlier, who should be learning our Constitution and the rights and strengths of it from a very early age in our educational system, rather than the bullshit they're being taught now, which is how to pierce your nose and paint your hair blue and maybe grow a set of boobs, boy or girl. Don't think it matters these days, does it? Good news from the CFMEU today. Yay! 6 buildings raided, including the head office in Elizabeth Street in Melbourne. God knows what they found on the floor. They'd be very sticky. It's filled full of wankers, so it is what it is. Anyway, 5 of them they arrested at home. Multiple charges. There are drugs charges. There are weapons charges. There are stolen vehicle charges, or at least some vehicle charges. I don't know if they're stolen. It's alleged that these 5 people who they arrested have been involved in a number of very serious crimes. Some of those crimes committed on big build sites. Some of those crimes committed off big build sites, but all of those crimes committed against people who were working on those sites or who had some way, shape or form a little bit of control with the cash, I dare say, that was going into those coffers. And the coffers are deep, folks. The CFMEU have been responsible for providing quite a large number of funds over the years. Here is a list. I can't quite read that one there, and if I change my screen size, I'm likely to have to go and exit the show and come back again. But you can probably blow that up and see it on your screen yourself. These are the donations from 1998. 18 of the 20 biggest entries on the Australian Political Register are not donations at all. They are, well, they come up as something else, but certainly not a donation. And have a look at who some of these have come from. CFMEU, obviously the Labor Party feeds so much money back into the CFMEU, it's only right that they would feed it back into the Labor Party. And they do, hand over fist. Well, should I say brown paper bag over brown paper bag. But have a look at the 2 largest contributors on that list. At the top at 400 and something odd million from memory is Twiggy Forrest's company, his personal philanthropic foundation, is what I call it. So his personal philanthropic foundation has donated a bit over 400 million. Mineralogy, which is Clive Palmer's company, it had donated $694 million. But if you could drop down the bottom to number 20, you'll see that Clive is rated there twice. That's for a couple of other big donations marked as donations that he's put into the political system. Where in the political system did he put them? Because for a long time, Clive's money was going into the Liberal Party. It was going into the National Party. It was going into PUP. It was going into United Australia. And then Clive Palmer's United this and Palmer's this and that and the other thing. Anyway, before he had Palmer United and whatever Trumpet of Patriots or whatever the last version of it was called, he was very, very happily funding both sides of politics. I think he also had been known to fund a bit of money, throw a bit of money Labor's way. So the only person I don't think he's given any money to would be the Greens. And, well, let's face it, who could blame him at the end of the day for that? But interesting times. Going back to court appearances, Pauline is heading to court. Now, she is going to the High Court because she is fighting for free speech. Now, I don't know how this is going to go. She's formally asked the High Court to hear a challenge to Section 18C of the Racial Discrimination Act after she lost her appeal over a 2022 tweet telling the Greens Senator Maureen "fuck Yuri" to piss off back to Pakistan. Apparently, Miss "fuck Yuri" didn't like that very much. Hanson argues that Australians should not be dragged through the courts for political speech simply because it may offend, insult, humiliate, or intimidate someone based on the race or ethnicity. Couldn't agree more. If the High Court agrees to hear it, the case would become one of the biggest tests of free speech under the Australian racial discrimination laws in years. I don't know how she will go because we have no free speech in this country. There is no legal protection to free speech. We have no Bill of Rights. So unlike America that has a Bill of Rights, it has a right to free speech. We have none of those protections, absolutely none of them. And to go into the High Court and argue it probably means you are in arguing your inalienable right. And I hope the court will hear this. I don't know that it will. The court itself is under some pressure at the moment. There are a number of registrars at the court who have been asked to provide reason or show cause why they knocked back a number of cases that were submitted to the High Court over recent years. These causes or cases necessarily had to do with doctors, APRA, and the powers being exercised by APRA over the likes of Billy Bay and others. There are also other orders that were in place during that time that the High Court is apparently yet to act on. So there are some interesting things happening in the High Court at the moment. Pauline's case, when it comes to free speech, well, he's hoping that it works out well. Now, the last time Pauline went on a bit of a fundraising drive, it was Fire the Liar, and Albanese was in the target. But I can tell you, she needs to fire it up again, because this weak peanut of a human being, Chris Bowen, is coming out and telling direct lies to the Australian electorate again. Now, bear in mind that this climate-crying suckhole is on the bones of his ass at the moment. His party want him to shut up. Bit like Barnaby. Shut up! Sorry, dogs. They didn't hear me. It's all right. They're deaf. They want him to shut up big time, because the moment he sticks his head on a television news report, the figures of approval for the Labor Party go through the floor. Here is the lie. Nuclear power station would take 20 years to build. Absolute frigging lie. 68% of nuclear reactors worldwide took less than 8 years to build. Yes, that is true. A nuclear reactor these days can be in place and running inside 4 years, depending on the structures and what pre-work has been put into the building they're going into. The reactor these days can be wheeled in on a forklift. It's nothing that has to be constructed. They are not really big and huge, particularly for the smaller reactors that they're thinking about using in different parts of Australia to power our country. Because Chris Bowen's climate-crying mob have got absolutely no friggin' hope of figuring out what to do with that. Now, these climate criers, what do we do with them? Because a large portion of them are now in the Australian public service. The Labor government in the last 12 months have employed 82,000 new public servants. The public service now holds 18% of Australia's working population. 1 in 5 Australians earns either all their income or a portion of it directly from the Australian government. Now, that would mean if you're on the dole or you're on a sickness benefit or a pension, you're included in that. We have 82,000 new public servants that have been sucked into predominantly the climate-crying area, the regulations involved and all that bullshit. Now, if One Nation, please God, get elected and go forth and rip the climate criers out of legislation, out of existence inside Canberra, then we're going to have a very significant portion of that 82,000 climate criers crying very loudly that they've had their nice, comfy government job with their beautiful super package and all that great stuff that they are now looking forward to for the rest of their life, having got a job in the Australian public service where it's almost impossible to get sacked. And now Pauline's going to come in and get rid of them. And that creates a bit of a political problem for Pauline or whatever party comes in and gets rid of these numpties, because you're going to add 82,000 unemployed Australians to the unemployment list. And all of a sudden, we're back paying dole to 82,000 more people. Oh, and you watch the dole figures go up in a month. I don't really care, but it would be a more accurate reflection of the country. However, it does seem only fair that if we're going to reverse a lot of the climate bullshit legislation that Bowen and his irresponsible party of criminals have been responsible for putting into this nation, then I think we should put the vast majority of those 82,000 workers, public service workers, rather than sacking them, because I think that would be the wrong thing to do. I think we should do an Albanese and change our position. And when I say change our position, I mean we changed their position from a very comfortable chair inside a nice warm Canberra office or a nice public service office located in any city, town or regional centre in this country. And if you, as your job's main criteria is to put a red pen through anything that would impinge on the climate criers' agenda, then I think we've got a new job for you. Have you seen the vandalism of the corridors that are being cut through virgin bushland in Australia so that these windmills can be put up? You know, a couple of 100 metres wide, swathes of land just chipped. They move in with bulldozers and chainsaws and chippers and then truck it all away, leaving a scar inside what used to be pristine Australian countryside so that these big trucks can roll in and build their big fans. Well, under Pauline, there will be no more big fans. There will be no more need for that. So I think those 82,000 green-loving, climate-crying pustards should be sent out to reforest those huge scars on the Australian landscape. And I have no problem paying them their current wage to do so. Unfortunately, you will be required to live on site. And of course, if you're doing the job right, the site will be moving every day. So we will also supply them with a tent each so that they can set up a camp, be happy, spread the seeds, plant all the new eucalypts and new Australian natives in the areas that have been totally wiped out because of their little ticks in their little boxes, in their public servant protected places. Well, here's your choice. Lose your job, go on the dole and get a reduced amount because, let's face it, you've created more problems than you've fixed. We're taking a small percentage of what we would pay you as your dole payment, your unemployment benefit, so that we can employ someone to put the trees and plant the trees and the native grasses and maybe rehabilitate some of the species that you and those people that you were working for have destroyed over the last 10 or 15 or 20 years. I think that's a great way to start. If they didn't like working there, I would suggest we put them to work on a coal mine, planting trees there. Just in the, where they're redoing remediation works, I think, or remedial works. I think it'd be an ideal idea. We got all these greens running around, these numptard bloody climate criers. We'll put you to good use. You'll be able to keep your wage. How nice would that be? Of course, if you don't want to do that, then life might get a little bit difficult. And you might find it difficult to get a job going further because, let's face it, who the hell would trust a numptard like you? Vince and I think, should have a new hat available in the not too distant future. Somebody else owns the copyright to it, so we'll have to come up with a new one. But make clouds real again. I saw being worn around the other day, and I think that is just bloody wonderful. Make clouds real again. Today was a great example, I think, of some fake clouds in southeast Queensland. Although it may just have been a huge storm that blew up from the northwest and sort of blew over my area heading for the Gold Coast, where it met a front coming in from the south. And I'm not sure whether or not that resulted in much rain down the Gold Coast, and a few thunderclaps quite might have. But the clouds, as they came across today, looked very, very strange. They were more fluffy, more real, can I say that, than I've seen in a long, long time. Sadly, for those folks who are down skiing at the moment in Australia's ski resorts, I believe the snow is very, very light on, and that gives me a level of hope, I suppose Ricardo Bosi level of hope, that you'd think the spraying, if it were happening, we would be having reasonable snow on the slopes because, a lot of water turns to snow. They've got snow-making machines even, works really well. But they're having trouble making snow this time of year. It's too warm. So, interesting. Haven't seen any planes striping the sky recently, although there was one picture sent to me on Saturday with one single stripe going north to south Queensland, I think, heading to New South Wales. So then we had a shitty day the next day, but the rest of it's blowing over. Fingers crossed it keeps blowing over. It's probably the best thing we can do. Oh, you're kidding me. This friggin' thing is jammed up. You know what I'm going to do, folks? I'm going to put a little thing up and I'll be back in a minute. Bear with me. Right, bloody thing. Sometimes when I get overly excited, my selection wheel stops turning and makes life very difficult. Don't you think that's a really good question? No, riddle me this. How do immigrants strengthen our country, but not their own? That needs to be asked of every Labor politician that has used that as an excuse to support multicultural. Oh, it makes Australia better. How does it make Australia better when the shithole that these people come from has been made a shithole by the people that live there? They're not exactly bringing the top line skills to Australia, unless that's machete wielding. And there was another stabbing incident today, I believe. Was it in Melbourne? Now, I don't know whether or not it was a machete involved or anything like that, but interestingly enough, it was near the MAP in Melbourne on the corner of Spencer Street and Latrobe Street. A woman was stabbed twice after she tried to break up and something that was going on between the assailant and a young boy who was being assaulted at the time. She tried to step in and look after the young bloke, and she got 2 stabs for it. They did get the bloke who did the stabbing. They found him in Sunshine or somewhere. And it turns out that neither the child who was being abused nor the woman knew the victim at all. And certainly the child didn't know the woman either. So this kind of thing is happening in broad daylight. And the MAP is the Melbourne Assessment Prison, it's called. And that's in Spencer Street. And used to be down near where the old age building was. And I think they knocked that down and built it on that site. But the Melbourne Assessment Prison is where every prisoner will go and be in. Remand is in there. And once you've basically gone through the legal system, you will have been assessed inside the MAP, and then you will be sent out into a prison that is able to cater to your specific security requirements, should we say. I guess that's the easiest way of saying it. There's been a lot of worrying news about hang on. Before we get off that, I'll just talk about nuclear power rather than the Greens. Now, nuclear power is coming back to the fore. There is a lot more talk about it. As we mentioned, I've seen some of the research that's been done on how fast a nuclear power station could be built, a power station that would power Sydney without thinking about it for the next 20 years, could in fact be operating inside the Hunter Valley, and it would basically power everything south of the Hunter Valley to Sydney. Could be operating inside 4 years, I've been told. But that involves using some existing infrastructure, but the laws aren't going to allow that sort of thing to happen yet. The laws are instead totally geared to data centers. Now, here's some interesting news. The biggest data center is going to require 4 substations. I doubt that those substations will be attached to the big fans and the solar windows, hoping to power them. There will be 2 power lines, and when they say power lines, it will be these mega power lines capable of hundreds of thousands of watts or volts or whatever it is that you charge them through there will be some batteries and 4 days of diesel backup required. Because if the power goes off for whatever reason, the sun doesn't shine, you're going to need to keep those data centers going, aren't you? Have you thought of a way yet that you will be able to get paid for your data, for every data point they take from you? Have you counted? It's an interesting exercise. I did this a couple of weeks ago. I tried to keep track of every time I gave a data point of mine away while I was online doing something or going through my day. If I had to leave my name or an email address or a phone number or somewhere for something, I noted it all down. And on the 2 days that I did it, the first day I had 17 different instances of data sharing. And on the next day that I did it, I had 27 instances of data sharing. And that's just in 1 day. You multiply that by weeks, days, months, years, and you just think of how much data they've got on you. And look, when I said this to somebody over the weekend, they said, oh, look, my life's not that exciting. They'll have the same data 455,000 times. Well, that might be the case, but they will also be able to extrapolate from that data things that might interest you and get you going in other areas to spend money while you're sitting there in the chair and doing it. There's a big psychology behind all of this too. Never, ever let that be forgotten. There is a huge psychology playing out behind all of this. Australia has been known for many years for its national carrier Qantas. Qantas have been ripping off the Australian people for I don't know how many years when it comes to flying domestically. Internationally, I think they've had to hold their end up and be a little bit more competitive. And I will admit that I don't think there is a better feeling if you're overseas than climbing on board a Qantas plane and hearing that familiar accent and potentially hearing I still call Australia home. I don't think they play it anymore as you're flying back into the country. Very, very nice. But Qantas, as we know, under Alan Joyce, was outsourced, was delegitimized in many ways, and according to some whistleblowers, was allegedly made a less safe airline. Of course, Qantas, the only airline in the world that has never had a true airline disaster, I don't think. And I think that is still the case. I can't think of any Qantas planes that have fallen out of the sky killing anyone. That in part goes to the great maintenance practices that Qantas have employed. And I remember as a kid, the brother of one of my mates went off and became an aircraft engineer. He was working at the time, I think, when he got his apprenticeship at Essendon Airport, but went on to work at Qantas and I think Etihad after that and a few others. He lost his job when they decided to outsource maintenance facilities in Australia to other areas. Now, Qantas have had a few bites at that cherry, and I believe they tried Dubai for a little while. That didn't work terribly well. Then they did a deal with Singapore, and there may well be some maintenance that still gets done in Singapore. They're trying to bring it back, from what I know, back to Brisbane. And they've clearly got new management. Alan Joyce has gone, and it's great that they seem to have had an influx of new ideas with their new management, because I was quite enamored to find that Qantas clearly have been watching Formula One and have decided to take a leaf out of Formula One's books when it comes to maintaining a vehicle. And it looks, for all the money, like an in-flight pit stop is possible. They're practicing for that at the moment, I think in Mumbai. But who knows? Could be coming soon to you, a contactless maintenance pickup schedule at an airport near you soon. God help us. All right, folks, got to love you, got to leave you a little earlier tonight, but hang on, I've probably got a video I can pad this out with a little bit. You're going to wish I'd forgotten this one. We all know, folks, about pop-ups, don't we? Pop-up restaurants. They're the latest and greatest thing. here one day, gone the next kind of thing. But you reach in, you apparently get a great feed on the day they pop up, and then they go somewhere else. And Melbourne, of course, has been a cultural food centre for, well, as long as I've been alive. Melbourne cuisine is, and the variety of cuisine that is available has always been staggering. There isn't a nation on earth that in Melbourne you can't get a good feed of, I guarantee it. And now, given there is so much new diversity and so many other business owners from other countries who've come to Australia, who probably can't afford to set up in a restaurant these days, because the costs just to rent a restaurant premise these days, let alone employ staff and do all the other bits and pieces, is just far, far, far too costly. And that's why these pop-ups are coming into being. It's a great opportunity for people to give folks a taste, if you like, of their cuisine, create a bit of brand awareness and a bit of brand demand. You've all heard of In-N-Out Burger, who started, I think, as a pop-up, and they might only have one or two actual full-time locations anywhere in the world, but they do pop-ups all over the place, and people are very happy to walk in and pay $35 for a friggin' cheeseburger. I don't know about me, but anyway, there is a new pop-up coming to Melbourne. I don't think we're going to call it a pop-up, though. I think we're going to call it a poop-up, but it's a great place to go for breakfast.
देखो गाय का लैट्रिन के साथ अंडा खाऊंगी अंडा देखो अंडा
Multiculturalism. You want eggs with your bacon? Watch out on the roads, folks. Some of those blokes are driving trucks.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up.
Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life.
It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back.
Does anybody else want to stay?
Let's ride!